What is up, Packer fans? Welcome back to the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. We had a great first day of mandatory mini camps, a lot of news and notes to discuss. We had Matt LaFleur in the pre-practice presser. We had locker room after practice. I was able to attend practice, so I have a lot of different observations that I had from practice. So we'll get through everything today, but let's start off with, I think, probably one of the biggest stories coming out of the first day of mandatory mini camps, and that's one, Aaron Rodgers was there, which we knew already, but B, more importantly, in his after practice press conference, he was asked if he was going to finish his career and retire as a member of the Green Bay Packers, and he said, quote, definitely. He also did go on to say that he is going to take this 1 year at a time and that his contract is basically a series of 1 year deals, which also helped free up some salary cap space for the Packers this year, which we knew already. But I think what's clear here, what we got some clarity on, things can always change. Nothing's ever set in stone. There's, no river that doesn't have a bend in it at some point. But I think what we seemingly gained clarity on is that after every offseason or after every season from here on out, we are still going to have Rodgers watch in some capacity. And Rodgers mentioned once again that he doesn't ever plan on dragging this out too far, but we are going to have, is Aaron Rodgers going to retire or not? However, it does seem like we are now going to be past the point of, is Aaron Rodgers going to get traded or is he going to play for another team? That seems to have been put to rest. And it does seem at this point, at least in Aaron Rodgers' mind and in his intentions, that he is going to retire as a member of the Green Bay Packers. He is not going to play for another team. And this is going to be it for him, as that he's not going to play anywhere else. However, again, as I mentioned, it's not to say that this isn't going to be an ongoing issue after every season where we have to wonder, is Aaron Rodgers going to come back or is he going to retire? So that's where we're at in the Aaron Rodgers saga from here on out, is that he's going to play this season as a Packer. Then we're going to have an off season of, is he going to retire or is he going to play for the Packers? And then so on and so forth year after year from here on out. And to be fair, I think, he talked about this a little bit as well. It's sort of understandable, right? If he says, I'm going to play 3 more years, and then they go out this season and win a Super Bowl, and he wants to retire on top and say, that's a perfect way to end my career as a Super Bowl champion. I don't know that anyone will hold it against him, but I can understand why he wouldn't want to say, I plan on playing 3 more years for sure. And on the flip side, if he says, I'm only going to play 1 more year, and then, they get to the Super Bowl and it's just like a, 1 play away from winning the Super Bowl, and he feels like he can come back and play another season and has a bitter taste in his mouth, and he wants to try to go get that Super Bowl and retire on top, maybe he wants to come back. So I can understand why he doesn't want to put anything set in stone and say, hey, this is it, or it's going to be 3 more years or anything in between, right? So it is just going to be Rodgers is a Packer until he retires, and we don't know when he's going to retire, and it's going to be a Rodgers watch every offseason from here on out. So buckle up. We as Packer fans have plenty of experience with the Favre watches over the year. Will he come back? Will he not come back? And certainly even in the last couple seasons with Rodgers as well. So Packer fans are well versed in the quarterback. Will he or will he not come back this season? So just buckle up and know that this could be going on for the next 2 or 3 years, maybe beyond that, who knows? But we did get some clarity, at least as of now, that he does want to retire a Packer and doesn't foresee himself playing for any other team. And you know what also should be noted? He looked like Aaron freaking Rodgers out on the field once again, looked totally like himself, looked like the MVP. So it was great to see him back out at practice and just in command. Rasul Douglas joked and said he was already making no-look passes on day 1 back. So buckle up, defense. You're going to have your work cut out for you anytime Aaron Rodgers is out on the field. But he looked completely like himself, looked like he hadn't missed a day. So any questions or concerns of, well, Aaron Rodgers missed OTAs, is this going to have some, it's not, everything is fine. It's all good. He looks fantastic and nobody missed anything from him not being there. Another player I wanted to talk about right away was Christian Watson, because of course I mentioned in a tweet his drops from the last practice as well. Everything that I saw Christian Watson do in practice on Tuesday looked really, really good. I thought he caught the ball clean all day. I did not see or hear or anything of any sort of drop from Christian Watson. In fact, it looked like he was plucking the ball out of the air with relative ease, caught the ball all day, whether it just be in jog through drills, whether it be in, team drills, etc. He just looked really, really good. I thought he looked explosive, had one of the more explosive plays of the day down the field from Jordan Love. Ball was a little bit underthrown, but he, held up for it, made the catch, got down and made a big play down the field. He's, again, showing off his explosiveness. But the thing that you love to see is just little, areas of growth, right? So had some trouble with his hands. You could just see a bigger level of concentration. You could see him plucking the ball out of the air with confidence. It was just little things, right? But you could see that he's putting in the time, the effort, the energy. And that's exactly what you want to see, especially from an ultra-talented player like Christian Watson. You want to see him putting in the time. You want to see him have quick improvement. And I thought that he showed that already. And again, maybe tomorrow he has 2 or 3 drops. The big takeaway here, especially during this time of the year, but one thing you should always remember, even in season, whether it's a loss or win, listen, if you want to freak out after a playoff loss, especially ones that, Packer fans have had to suffer through over the course of the seasons, freak the heck out. And this is not me telling you be a fan. Be a fan however you want. But what I really stress is try not to, ride the wave too much through mini camps, through OTAs, through training camp, even through the course of the regular season. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs for the team, through the offense, through the defense, through the special teams, through specific players. There's going to be ups and downs throughout the season. Romeo Dobbs at OTAs was the talk of OTAs. Today, he didn't do much and had a drop on the day. Christian Watson, had some downs. He had a variety of different drops through the course of OTAs. Today, I thought he looked fantastic. So don't ride the waves. These players are all going to go through some ups and downs throughout the course of the season, throughout the course of their careers. Stay optimistic. Enjoy these players because they're all super talented, and hope for the best, right? We'll always cover the things that didn't go well. We'll break it down. But again, today I thought Christian Watson had a very nice practice. In the realm of let's not freak out too much, and again, once again, it's OTAs, I did think that once again, Jordan Love really struggled in practice. There were some ups and downs in practice as well. He did have a couple nice completions, but there were even some asterisks next to that. The biggest issue of the day for Jordan Love was a horribly thrown pass that was well behind Josiah DeGuara, that was undercut by Vernon Scott. Would have been a pick 6 and returned for a touchdown by Vernon. Nice play by Vernon, but was well behind DeGuara. DeGuara had no chance, and it was a poor decision. It was poor vision on the throw. It was a poor throw. Even if you're going to throw it, you need to throw it far outside. So, when you're talking about decision, vision on where you're throwing the football, and actually accuracy with the ball, this was 3 strikes on Jordan Love in this play, and that's how you end up with a pick 6, and that's what Vernon Scott had. And again, DeGuara didn't, seemingly, I can't 1,000,000% say sure, maybe DeGuara didn't run the route exactly like he was supposed to. That's always a chance. Again, we don't always have every piece of information, but assuming DeGuara ran the route like he was supposed to, it definitely looked like, either way, even if it was off, right? Like DeGuara or Love still did not place the ball well based on where DeGuara was at the time of the throw. But that was a very poor decision and throw by Love on that play. I had a couple of severely underthrown balls on the day. And you may hear, and it's 100% true, that he did lead the number 1 offense to a 2-minute drill touchdown drive in which he went 6 for 6 on the drive. And you might be like, all right, that sounds really good. However, there's some caveats here as well. During that drive, he hit Devonta Campbell right where Devonta Campbell should have intercepted with complete ease. Like, he threw it right to Devonta Campbell. Unfortunately for Devonta, fortunately for Jordan, the ball ricocheted off Devonta Campbell, went right to Sammy Watkins, and Watkins picked up a first down on the play. So should have been a pick that ended the 2-minute drive. It wasn't. Campbell's got to hold on to that. The offense got another chance. And then later in the drive, threw a deep touchdown pass to Juwan Winfrey. Now, there are a variety of different accounts of how this play developed. Just to note, it was probably, maybe a 40-45 yard touchdown throw down the field with about 29 seconds left in the 2-minute drive. Juwan Winfrey one-on-one coverage with Jair Alexander on the play. and the ball was severely underthrown, and Winfrey made a great adjustment and caught it falling down right in the end zone. Now, a couple things. Depending on who saw the play, I think everyone would tell you it was a wobbly ball and it seemed well underthrown. It could have been underthrown on purpose. It looked like he was just throwing it up and giving his guy a chance, and it didn't look like the best ball in the world. Let's just put it that way. But it got the job done. Winfrey separated from Alexander at the end, and the ball was complete, and it was a touchdown. So give credit to Jordan Love in that regards. I saw a couple of tweets put out there that didn't give Jordan Love any credit on the play. I tend to believe that he was underthrowing it a little bit on purpose, but the ball didn't look the best. Let's just put it that way. Either way, ends up with a touchdown to Juwann Winfrey. As far as the coverage, I've thought about this. It almost felt like Jair Alexander had perfect coverage throughout the entirety of the route to Juwann Winfrey. I don't think there was anything in Jair's mind that led him to believe, all right, I'm sure he's thinking, I'm Jair Alexander and I have perfect coverage on Juwann Winfrey. There is no way the ball's coming my way. And I don't know if he was looking elsewhere or not sure whatever happened, but ball got underthrown. I think by the time Jair recognized, holy crap, the ball actually came my way, it was so underthrown. Winfrey just stopped, kind of made a falling catch, and again, fell into the end zone. You would like to have probably seen Jair play that a little bit better, but trust me, he's going to be just fine. He had a fantastic day outside of that one play, but nice play by Winfrey. And, like I said, I don't think it was Love's best day. He had one pick six, should have had 2 interceptions on the day. Couple, again, very underthrown balls. As I mentioned earlier, Christian Watson came open deep on the play, and Love was just a little bit late and behind him that Watson had to slow down and adjust. Had he hit him in stride, probably would have been a touchdown to Watson. So just overall, not a great day for Jordan Love. Still think there's a long ways to go and a lot of improvement needed from the former first-round pick. As mentioned, Juwann Winfrey had arguably one of the plays of the day in the 2-minute drill, making the adjustment and making a touchdown catch in a 2-minute drill with the ones against Jair Alexander. There's not more that you want from that. But the other thing that really caught my eye is, chalk this up to whatever you want. Who knows if this actually means anything? It could mean absolutely nothing. But Juwann Winfrey carries himself like he's the wide receiver. Not like number 5, not like I'm going to make this team. He carries himself like he is a number 1 wide receiver. There's just no lack of confidence. You look at it, he's got a little bit of swagger, just how he goes through drills. But the thing that stood out to me, and again, maybe this is nothing, probably is nothing, but anytime in the past when wide receiver drills started, more often than not, the first guy to line up every single time was Devonta Adams. He was the guy. He was the number 1 wide receiver. He knew it, and he was going to line up first in wide receiver drills. And oftentimes, who would line up across from them, if it was one-on-ones or team drills or whatever, it was Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander knew he was the number 1 corner, and those guys would always go first. What I noticed today is Juwann Winfrey was lining up number 1 in the wide receiver line more often than not, whether it was just through jog-throughs or whatever. He was going and taking that number 1 spot. And like I said, probably means nothing, but it just goes to I think he wholeheartedly believes that he is going to be a real legitimate player on this team. He carries himself with confidence. He's consistently making one-handed catches, had the great catch in team period. I still think he is battling in heavy competition even to make this team, but you wouldn't know it by watching him and the confidence that he oozes on every given play. So again, make whatever of that you will, but you can tell he believes and he is oozing confidence right now. Vernon Scott, as I mentioned, had the really nice pick six. I don't have much else to add about Vernon Scott, but I feel like he needed a play like that. And again, anytime you can get a pick six in practice and get a house call, and that has to feel really, really good. And, hopefully he can, as Mike McCarthy would say, stack success and carry that into, future practices, because you would love to see Vernon Scott take a step. He has some really interesting talent and potential. As Aaron Rodgers eloquently put it, the potential is great, but you want to see production. We saw production from Vernon on Tuesday, and hopefully he can carry that over. Other news and notes here. Starting defense. we finally got to see Quay Walker practice significantly with the ones. In OTAs, that was Chris Barnes. Chris Barnes got some time with the ones as well, but Quay Walker quickly starting to take over that spot. It did not take long in the nickel packages and in the 2-minute drills. Quay Walker was with the starters, so he is quickly getting a crash course in inside linebacker number 2, and it seems like it's only going to be a matter of time before he fully takes that over from Chris Barnes, but that was one of the big changes. Also, everyone wanted to know who was going to be the slot corner. And I think a lot of people assumed it was going to be Jair Alexander. If you've been following me here, you know that I did not think it was going to be Jair Alexander, at least on early downs. And who knows what ultimately ends up happening here. We have a long offseason yet to go, and there's a lot to figure out. I just, a smaller corner coming already off a pretty significant injury and not wanting to subject him to a bunch of, basically having to set the edge as a corner and going up against tight ends and fullbacks and big running backs. It just doesn't seem like in early downs playing in the slot is in Jair Alexander's interest. And that is part of that job description. Listen, we know that this defense is going to want to play a ton of nickel again, as does every defense in the NFL right now. And we know that teams, especially in early downs, are going to run against nickel, and they're going to run at that slot corner and see if he has the ability to set the edge or make a play or make a tackle against the running back. And that's just not something you want to see Jair Alexander having to do over and over and over again. So I would be fairly shocked if Jair Alexander in his job description this season was full-time slot corner. I just can't imagine that. And if Tuesday was any indication, it seems like Rasul Douglas and Keyshawn Nixon are going to get the first opportunities to be that slot corner. We saw Douglas with the ones. Keyshawn Nixon subbed in and played a little bit as well. But I just don't think they want to subject Alexander. Now, in obvious passing situations, and late in the game, up 2 scores, something like that, then yes, I think we could see a lot of Jair Alexander in the slot, or just sort of mixing and matching with whatever matchup works best. But I would be, again, very surprised if it is Jair Alexander in sort of your base nickel defense in the slot. And again, on Tuesday, that was Rasul Douglas. Speaking of Jair Alexander, it was so great to see him back. As I mentioned, not in the slot, he was playing outside corner, but just a joy to watch practice. He takes everything so seriously. He is such a master of his craft. Attention to detail is through the roof. And like I tweeted out, anytime I get the opportunity to watch Jair Alexander, whether it's in practice, games, etc., it is a good day. It was a good day on Tuesday because Jair Alexander was once again on top of his game, ready to go, and it was just great to see him back at practice again. One player who was not back at practice was David Bakhtiari, who was not in his jersey, was in a ball cap, doing some of the work to the side, but then went in the Hudson Center, and we didn't see him again for the rest of practice. So he is not going to be active at mini camps once again. And again, just this dark cloud is hanging over the Packers and David Bakhtiari at this point. Now, Aaron Rodgers was asked about it, and this was his quote. He said, quote, "He's been working really hard. Hopefully training camp, he's good to go. But I know he's working really hard and itching to get back out there." And as Zach Cruz on Twitter pointed out, there's that magic word, hopefully, again. We are a year and a half past the initial injury, and we are still using words like, hopefully he will be ready for training camp. That's great. I'm hopeful as well. But until we see David Bakhtiari for sure back at training camp and ready to go and ready to play in games, it just still feels very, very nerve-wracking. And hopefully much ado about nothing, but it's not like Aaron Rodgers said, yeah, he's going to be good to go for training camp. And he probably wouldn't have said that anyway, right? Because he doesn't want to put pressure on his guy. But that word hopefully just keeps coming up, and that just doesn't exude a ton of confidence at this point. Speaking of offensive line, one of the things I pointed out yesterday that I'd be keeping an eye on is just the offensive line rotation. We once again saw starters of Yosh Nijman, John Runyan Jr., Josh Myers, and then right guard Royce Newman, and then right tackle Cole Van Lanen. Once again, we saw Jake Hansen going at right guard and Royce Newman going at right tackle. But for the first time, we saw Yosh get some playing time and just some snaps at right tackle with Cole Van Lanen moving to left tackle. So they did switch those up as well and started to get a couple different looks, just building in some versatility there. And if Bakhtiari does end up back, that could mean that Yosh has an opportunity still at right tackle, and they want to get him some reps there as well. One player that was not there was Allen Lazard. As mentioned yesterday, he is still not under contract. So even though this is a mandatory minicamp, he is not required to be there because he's not under contract. Allen's agent put out a a quote, I guess, and said, quote, Allen's total focus is on having the best possible season he can have as a player and helping the Packers win the Lombardi Trophy. Everything he is doing is to further those objectives. So I am sure that they want a new contract, but the message from his agent was not Allen wants a new contract. It was he's working hard and doing everything that he can to help the Green Bay Packers win a Lombardi Trophy. So we will see what happens with that, but would not expect Allen Lazard at any of minicamp at this point because he is not under contract. Hopefully this gets worked out sooner rather than later, certainly going into training camp and he's ready to go for that. But Allen Lazard was not at practice because he's not under contract. There were no other absences, so that is great. Everyone else that was supposed to be at mandatory minicamp was at mandatory minicamp. One player that was back at practice was Sammy Watkins. I thought he had a really nice day of practice and made a really nice first impression. Made a ridiculous one-handed catch with Jair Alexander in super tight coverage on the play. Ball was a little bit behind him from Jordan Love, but reached back, grabbed it one-handed, and made a ridiculous catch. Had the catch off the ricochet in the 2-minute drill, and just looked like a veteran wide receiver that knew what he was doing. So Aaron Rodgers had, great things to say about Watkins and is seemingly is very excited to work with him this upcoming season. As I mentioned previously, we know how much Rodgers cares about that veteran rapport and, being able to count on those guys. So it was great seeing Sammy Watkins out there, and I thought overall had a very nice first impression. As far as special teams go, I know like punt gunning isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but listen, we're at DEFCON whatever at special teams at this point. Like everything matters. I thought Keyshawn Nixon, Samori Toure, Juwan Winfrey, Rico Gafford, and Keandre Thomas had some really nice reps at gunner. I thought Danny Davis and Raleigh Tejada struggled a little bit more. And for those guys especially, it's going to be of the utmost importance that they show they can hang on special teams in order to make any sort of name for themselves. So it doesn't matter a ton. Don't read too much into it. But I thought Nixon, Toure, Winfrey, Gafford, and Thomas had the better reps as gunners. At punt returner, we saw Rico Gafford, Amari Rodgers, Randall Cobb, and Romeo Dobbs getting some catches in as punt returners. Samori Toure, I thought, had a couple opportunities at contested catches. These were these were very good coverage, very contested plays, jump ball situations. Even the best wide receiver, maybe comes up with one of these at best. But this is the sort of knock on Toure, right? He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not a contested catch guy. He's not a jump ball guy. He's going to have to win in the slot. This isn't his game. But, he had a couple opportunities, right? Where they, I would say these are 25% at best catchable balls. So I'm not hanging anything against Toure here. Don't want to put too much harm on the guy. But this just, those were opportunities. And if he makes one of those, it's one of the highlight plays of the day. But when you're a late seventh round pick and you've got opportunities, you want to make the most of them. And while they were very difficult catches, you make those, you start making the name for yourself. And you only get so many opportunities in these situations. So a couple missed opportunities for Toure, even though they would have been ridiculous opportunities and tough catches to make. Speaking of rookies, we saw with the second team some positioning and how they lined up some of these rookie offensive linemen. Zach Tom was lined up at center with the second team. Sean Ryan was at right guard. Rasheed Walker was at right tackle. I did see some reps with Zach Tom at right guard as well. I'm sure they rotated some of those other guys around as well. But when the initial second team got together, it was Zach Tom at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, and Rasheed Walker at right tackle. In addition, the other sort of scary moment of the day, Rashawn Gary at one point did get a little banged up and limped to the side. He didn't ever return to any of the team drills. I don't know that there would have ever been an opportunity for him to. I think the number ones were basically done at that point, but I don't think he ever got checked out by a trainer. He was walking around and joking around with teammates on the side. That didn't seem to be any concern, but he did go down for a second, walk to the sideline, take himself out, but he seemed to be totally fine. But we'll get a look tomorrow if he's back at practice. Innis Gaines had two really nice pass breakups, one where he ranged over really nicely, so really nice day for him. And then Ladarius Hamilton had a quote-unquote sack in the team activities of Kurt Benkert as well. Hamilton's a guy I was really intrigued by when he got in games a season ago, so interested to keep an eye on him as the rest of the offseason rolls around. That does it for my news and notes. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Pack-A-Day podcast. If you did, make sure to comment below, hit that like button, and of course, most importantly, hit subscribe. I will be right back here tomorrow breaking down day 2 of mini camps. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.